Have you ever wondered if being a strict parent is the key to raising well behaved children? Today, we are diving deep into the myths surrounding authoritarian parenting and uncovering the surprising truths that every parent should know. Welcome back to our channel, Mental Insights. I am Israel. Today, we are tackling the topic of authoritarian parenting and the misconception that often surround this approach. Why some may believe that strict rules and blind obedience lead to disciplined and successful children, research paints a different picture, one that sheds light on the pitfalls of this parenting style. Join us as we debunk common myths about authoritarian parenting and explore why nurturing, understanding, and balanced communication might be the real key to raising happy children, resilient and successful kids. Let's get started. The authoritarian parenting style is characterized by high demands and low responsiveness from parents. Authoritarian parents place a strong emphasis on obedience, strict discipline, and adherence to rigid rules without any explanation or negotiation. It is because I said so kind of parenting style. I used to have a friend who would say to me that in my house, I tell my children, this is not a democracy. This is dictatorship. That's what he would say to his children. So authoritarian kind of parenting is exactly that kind of parenting where the father says something and nobody says anything else. If the kids ask why, even in a polite way, the response will be because I said so. Well, however, research has shown that this approach to parenting can be damaging to a child's psychological development and overall well being. Here are some myths about authoritarian parenting that needs to be busted. And these myths that we're going to bust into this video are supported by research. They've been researched and found to be so. So myth number one, authoritarian parenting leads to well-behaved children. That is a myth. That is a myth. The fact is, while authoritarian parenting may result in obedience in the short term, it often backfires in the long run. By demanding blind obedience without explanation, children are denied the opportunity to understand the reasoning behind rules and develop their own moral compasses. This can lead to difficulties in making responses or responsible choices when faced with situations without clear-cut rules. Well, according to a study by Bomering in 1991, children raised by authoritarian parents tend to be more discontented, withdrawn, and distrustful. They may also exhibit more aggressive behavior and lower self-esteem. It's always beneficial when you say something to a child or even an adult and you give them a reason behind what you're saying, like you give them a rule. Don't do X, Y, Z, and you tell them why. You know, it creates a better response from the child. Then let's bust myth number two, because I said so, teaches children respect for authority. The fact is, this approach undermines a child's ability to develop critical thinking and decision-making skills. It could result in resentment and rebellion. So when children are consistently met with the "because I said so" response, they may begin to resent the arbitrary exercise of authority. Instead of fostering respect, this approach can breed resentment and a desire to rebel against rules that seem arbitrary and unjustified. In situations like this, a little explanation of why the rules are in place would generate a kind of commitment from the children to keep those rules. It also results in inability to internalize values. Respect for authority should stem from an understanding of the principle and value that underlies rules and expectations. When parents fail to explain the reason behind their decisions, children are unable to internalize these values and develop a genuine sense of respect for authority based on understanding and conviction. A clinical psychologist, Dr. Laura Markham, made this explanation. When we don't explain our reasons, children don't learn to evaluate the merits of a rule or request. They simply obey blindly, which doesn't prepare them for the real world. Myth number 3, authoritarian parenting builds character and resilience. That is a myth. The fact is, research has consistently shown that authoritarian parenting is associated with higher level of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues in children. I mean, those of us who are Black parents, we know there are parents when it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening and they hear the blast of their father's vehicle horn. They run after scatter. If they were outside, they would run in. If they were playing outside, they would quickly run in and clean themselves up. You know? So that in itself is blind obedience, because if they understood why they should not be outside playing at a certain time, no one will ask them to go in before they go in. So that is what authoritarian style of parenting brings. So a study by Steinberg and others in 1994 found that authoritarian parenting was linked to lower self-esteem, poorer academic performance, and more delinquent behavior in adolescents. Authoritarian parents tend to be emotionally distant and provide little warmth or nurturing for their children. This lack of emotional support can lead to children developing low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression. Children raised in such an environment may struggle to form a healthy relationship and regulate their emotions later in life. And this, of course, can affect their marital relationship. Number 4, strict parenting is necessary to ensure children's success. This is a myth. That's not a fact. While structure and guidance are important, excessive control and lack of warmth can be detrimental. So a study by Gronick and Ryan, 1989, found out that children of authoritarian parents had lower academic motivation and achievements compared to those with authoritative, balanced parents. Authoritarian parenting approach of demanding blind obedience without explanation can be damaging to a child's psychological development. So emotional well-being and overall success. It is crucial for parents to provide age-appropriate explanation, encourage critical thinking, and create a nurturing environment for their children to thrive. So, what is recommended is by experts is that instead of relying solely on authoritarian approach to parenting, it is recommended that authoritative parenting, which combines warmth, nurturing, and open communication with age-appropriate boundaries and expectation, is a lot better. This style has been shown to foster better psychological adjustment, higher self-esteem, and far better academic performance. So, one way we can achieve that, have balanced parenting style between permissive parenting style and authoritarian parenting style. Some things we can do to achieve this balance is set clear boundaries and expectation. So when you give a rule, give a firm rule, and you also give the consequences, but explain the reason behind those consequences, behind the rules calmly. This allows the children to understand the purpose rather than just saying, because I said so. For example, instead of demanding obedience without explanation, you could say, we don't hit others because it hurts or it hurts them and it's an unacceptable, behavior. Then another thing we can also do is use positive reinforcement. So while we enforce consequences for misbehavior, we should also be very liberal with our praises and reward when our children show good conduct. This nurtures self-esteem and motivation. For example, you could say, I am proud of how patient you were while waiting your turn. Then you can give a little reward like a sticker, a gold sticker, and so on. So we should also practice active listening. When our children express concern, we should be seen. We should not just be listening, we should be seen to be listening. We should give them attention. We should make our time for open conversation while you listen attentively to your child's perspective and validate their feeling. So we should reflect on what they said to show that we understand them. We can say stuff like, it sounds like you felt really frustrated when your friend didn't share the toy. When we give this kind of reflective response, it tells the child that, we are listening to them and that we are sensitive to their emotions. And then we should also be flexible. We should recognize that the rigid enforcement is not always practical. We should have the flexibility to make exceptions when it is necessary, because humans are not robots. There are situations that would occur that would demand that we should be a little flexible with instructions or rules we have given. We could say something like, I know we don't eat dessert before dinner usually, but since you tried the new vegetable, you can have a small treat. That would encourage the child, that would make them feel that their emotions, their feeling is being taken into account. Then we can also show warmth. Combine discipline with affection, nurturing, and quality time. This strengthens your bond with your child. Give hugs, spend one-on-one time together, and let them know your intentions are caring. Tell them you love them. All of these are important for the psychological development of our children. Then another big one, especially for African parents, is that we should avoid harsh punishments. Punishments that are overly harsh breeds resentment. We should use mild, consistent consequences instead of explosive anger or demeaning language. You don't want to punish your child in such a way that the child will be thinking in their head, is he really my father? Is she really my mother? They will be doubting if you are actually a parent. So by setting age appropriate limits with empathy, understanding, and affection, parents can find the balance between strictness and nurturing for healthy child development. So it's very, very important that we cannot rely solely on authoritarian approach to parenting. If we do that, that will cause a lot of psychological damage for the child. We should combine warmth, nurture, and open communication. Set boundaries and expectation. We should combine all of this with authoritarian parenting. Be a little, permissible with our style of parenting and rule. This will help the child to have a balanced psychological development and a high self-esteem, self-worth, and academic performance as they grow up. Guys, that will be the end of this video. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.